It's time for the Ella Johnson Show. Thanks for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show, where there are two sides to every story. Enjoy the broadcast. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ella Johnson Show. I am so excited about tonight's broadcast. Listen, if you are watching from Facebook, do me a favor. You may be watching from one of my many pages on Facebook. So if you're watching, please do us a favor tonight and share the broadcast. If you're watching from YouTube, you are already there. So please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Yes, as you can see, I have Crystal Tucker with me tonight. Tonight is Hero from DaVille. January. You guys have been hearing about it all week. We've been posting for like a couple weeks now because I'm excited. I know you guys are going to be excited because there are things about Crystal that you just don't know. Right here backstage, I got a little taste of it. Maybe she'll give you all some of it. Right, Crystal? Listen, this girl is the truth. She is the truth, and I can't think of a better person. I am honored, Crystal, that you accepted this role of being our hero from DaVille for January. I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you for accepting it.
Thank you for inviting me. And I'm honored because you can go all the way around the world. You can crisscross the country, but there's nothing like the people who knew you when or knew you before and who know who you are and know who you ain't to say, you know, girl, you done good. You done good enough for us to talk about you in a good way. So I'm very honored to be here.
Right. Well, listen, guys, I find it interesting that Crystal describes her music as an antipsychotic to keep her people from losing their minds. Now, Crystal took the roots of her home and turned them into a powerful international message. While she was classically trained under legends from the New York Metropolitan Opera, the soul of her ancestors eventually called her back, and now she is the belle of the blues. Crystal, you are a powerhouse, and your voice carries the weight of history and the soul of the South. So I am very honored. I really am that you decided to be here tonight. Listen, we're going to dive deep tonight, Crystal, because you know, and I know that you don't care. You will say whatever I ask, right? She'll answer it. Crystal, she doesn't hold any punches. If you guys know her, you already know what I'm talking about. So this is how this is going to go tonight. I want every single one of you to ask her some questions, make comments. Your comments will come on the screen just like this. And you'll get to see. I see Liberia in the house. Thank you. Okay, guys. So what I want to tell you guys before we get started is this. I've already put some links here in the show for you, because I want to make sure that you guys click here and buy Crystal's music. Yes. I want every single person that's watching this, click on this link, and I want you to buy her music. Every song, everything that's available. I want you to support my hero from DaVille tonight, all right? That's one of the links that we have in here tonight. I also have a link in here for those of you who think you might want to show up and be here on the broadcast. Yes, there's room for everyone here on the Ella Johnson Show. So if you would like to just jump on here and say hi to Crystal and ask her some questions in person, it's all good. You're welcome. There's room for everybody here on the Ella Johnson Show. And then I think there's one more link that I got here. I have a link for you guys to watch Your Baby Mama. Okay. I want you guys to definitely watch that video. But Crystal, let's have some fun. I want everybody to watch this video right now. I want y'all to check this out while we're waiting on people to come in.
Who's that?
Oh, no, that ain't nobody. I just told you.
There she goes.
Oh, baby, don't start this morning. I had a cup of coffee. We'd have had enjoyed ourselves. Oh, baby, don't do that.
Oh, what?
Baby, you left the coffee on. Nah, but for real though, baby, that wasn't nobody. I just got, I gotta go to work.
Oh, there you go. There she goes.
Baby, you know better than that. Baby, baby, you. Baby, come on, baby.
There she go. Go on, get the phone.
I don't know who that is.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Tell me why your baby mama keep calling your phone.
Tell me why.
I wanna know why.
Tell me why.
Tell me why your baby mama just can't leave us alone.
Don't tell me no lie.
I don't wanna hear no lie now. She blowing your phone up every day and night.
Ooh,
That's how I know that something just ain't right. Tell me why your baby mama always acting a clown.
tell me
I
why.
wanna know why.
Tell me why.
She makes a scene every time that she comes around.
Don't tell me no lie.
The reason why she always acting a clown.
Ooh,
You still going over there and you laying her down. Tell me why your baby. Okay, guys, I just wanted to give y'all just a little taste of it. I put the link in here so you can finish watching it. Crystal, where did that come from? Talk about what your baby mama is all about. That came from a question from some much younger women, in their 20s. And, they were talking about all these things that were going on with their boyfriend. And they couldn't understand why this woman was clowning and why she was doing all these things. And, so when I tried to explain that, me and another seasoned sister, they didn't take it too well. They didn't take it too well that if you have a woman that keeps clowning with you and you all don't have very much else in common, and she's clowning with a man that you and that woman got at least one thing in common, and it might be that man. So sometimes when you give medicine, you have to put a little sugar on it or put it in a little orange juice so that people can swallow it better. So I came up with that little tongue-in-cheek song, put it out there, and realized that whereas a lot of young women aren't going to listen to their mama, their auntie, their older sister, if they hear that song, they might go, dang, she clowning, she calling, she cutting up, she showing up. And you might realize that it might be time for you to step back and let a person do what they do so you can find out what they really want to do. So it was funny. And it was. And Roderick Hot Rod Russell, a comedian, played the slick talking guy in the video, and he helped bring that concept to life. I gave him a treatment, no particular script, and it just came together right there in front of the camera in one take. And I thought that was amazing. The back and forth between he and I, the editing by Casey, the videographer.
Good job,
he told a great story.
Yeah, I think it was good. Now let me ask you this: what does it mean to you to be the hero from DaVille? What does that mean for you? This is your hometown recognizing you, because you know how they always say you don't have any honor in your home, but in your hometown we look at you and are proud of you. How does that feel to know that?
It's humbling, actually. It's very humbling, because I've often heard older people say that you can become great, you can improve your station in life, you can make money, you can possess all the material things, you can get in the paper, you can be on TV, but you will never be better than the place that made you.
Amen. Ooh, I like it.
And it's humbling, because I tell people all the time, I can't be anything except who I am, because there's too many people across the nation and around the world who know who I ain't. There are people from Monroeville in every corner of this nation. There are people from Monroeville who have been in places all around the world. And so it's very humbling. It's an honor, and it's very humbling, because the hardest people to impress are people who know you.
Say it. That's right. That's right. I got to tell you, you're looking like your mama right now. Miss Maureen, I know you're watching. If this girl ain't sitting up here looking like Maureen, look just like your mom. You look like your dad too, but you really, I'm just giving Maureen all day. So,
I used to hear people say it. I'm beginning to see it. And I'm very honored that I look like my mother. My mother's a very attractive woman. And as much as I'm beginning to see her on me, I strive so that eventually people will see her in me.
Aw, I like that. So when you think about Monroeville and the people there, because I know that you're like a names person, you can name it. Name some people in Monroeville that deposited good things that helped you become this woman that you are. Give me some people and why.
I could name all of the same people that most people name: the educators, the teachers, the principals, the coaches, the pastors, and those names are named over and over again. And I give a big salute and shout out to all of the administrators of the schools, all of the teachers, and all of the coaches. But there are some people who may not get that honor. One of the people that I am very, very indebted to belongs on a list. I mean, the list is many. Miss Catherine Howard, Miss Vasti Kidd.
Yeah.
The Spencer sisters, Josephine McCants, Aretha Carmichael, Ira Mae Lett, Fannie Mae Tunstall, Catherine Knight, Miss Dahl Williams, Miss Victoria Stallworth.
Yes.
You know, people like that. Miss Willie Mae Grandison.
Yeah.
Your mother, Miss Cora Johnson, Miss Sally Tucker, Miss Sarah Davis, Reverend Fletcher Davis, Reverend Robert Davis. All those people that were, you know, people from across town, Miss May Liz McCants, Miss Mary Williams, Miss Sarah Williams from over there in the crosstown community, Miss Carrie Biggs. I mean, just people from all across Monroe County, people that made it possible for us to do what we do. Miss Ida Mae Kidd. I mean, Ida Mae Kidd's house is like therapy. Everybody goes there for advice, and you know, she's not going to tell you anything. China Rivers.
Oh wow, you're right. The list is long.
It's long list. You know, all of those people who were just there. You know, not with a title, not because of a degree, but people who had lived and shared experiences with you so that you would be better, so that you wouldn't make the mistakes that they may have made. You know, people who pushed you to even leave home to see what you could do with the world and be in the world. One of my unsung heroes was Charles Kidd, because Charles Kidd said, baby, you ain't got to stay here. because it's good and better all over the world.
Oh, I love it. One that you didn't mention was Miss Ola Mae Abney. That's one that I definitely get. She just,
Ola Mae
aside from my
Abney
mom, yeah.
was going to come down in the show when you asked me what motivated me to do these things. Ola Mae Abney was a pillar of her community.
Yes.
She motivated me in all of my professions. And whenever you started doubting yourself, it was like, Ola Mae Abney, if she thought you was doing something positive, she was a bigger and better cheerleader than you ever could have been out there for County High, because she would tell you, girl, what you talking about doubting yourself? You doubting yourself? You know, that famous line she had, what you talking about?
What you talking about? Yes, she did. She said that all the time.
And she would just tell you. She would tell you where you were. She would tell you when you was wrong, but she would be right back with you, have your back, and motivate you when you was right.
Facts. Chuck here said, tell Crystal I'm still waiting on my potato salad.
Hello, Chuck. I don't deliver. You can come visit me and I'll make you some. When I get a chance to come to Monroeville, I will try to make you some and put it up where it'll be safe when you get it.
Now, Crystal, you're a mom. You're a grandma.
I am.
You are auntie, your sister, daughter. What is it that you want people that are watching this broadcast? What do you want them to take home tonight and learn about you? Because like I said in my intro, there's a lot of stuff about Crystal you guys don't know. You're going to find out tonight. But what's the most important thing you want them to remember after this broadcast about you?
One of the most important things that I want people to know about me is that I'm not a finished product, even at this big age. But I've come so far from where I was when I was younger, when you're lost, you're confused, when you're making bad decisions. I want them to know that whatever it is that you want to do, whatever it is you want to be in life, it's never too late to be who or what you were meant to be. That's and right. If I can do it, you can do it.
That's right. That's right. And I think, Crystal, just to piggyback off that, I think what happens is people feel like they're stuck sometimes. Like you left Monroeville. I know I left Monroeville. Lots of us left, but there are a lot of people that are still there. Is it still late? It's not too late for them to make a difference, even in Monroeville. They can leave, but you can still make a difference where you are, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Agree.
One of my nature flowers. There are 3 flowers that remind me every day. A rose, no matter how beautiful it is, it has thorns. Right. No matter how many thorns it has, it's still beautiful. That's right. Lilies, I don't care how cold it gets, they will die back in the cold, harsh weather, but in the spring, they coming back again. They bounce back year after year after year after year. They are very resilient. And then there's the lotus blossom. The lotus blossom, no matter how ugly, dark, and deep the mud is, a lotus blossom still blooms in that mud.
Oh, I like it.
So that's what I tell people. Life, like a rose, the beauty in it, yes, there will be thorns, but the beauty of a rose cannot be suppressed by the thorns. The resilience of lilies, they don't die. They go, they go away when it gets cold. But as soon as the conditions are right, they bloom again. And I think people are the same way. I think that people have beauty and they have pain in their lives. I think that people are resilient, that they may get knocked back temporarily for a season, but with enough resilience, they'll come back. And I also believe that the same Monroeville that made me, there are still people there who are just as smart, who are just as brilliant, who are just as talented as anybody else anywhere. And no matter what they say about Monroeville, Monroeville has produced doctors, nurses, lawyers, entertainers, people in the sciences, people in the arts, people in journalism. So regardless of what they say, every great person didn't come from a big epicenter. Monroeville, like anywhere else, has good and bad. Heaven it ain't, but home it is. And no matter what they say about it, just like a lotus blossom, you can still bloom, even if it's muddy, even if it's not perfect, even if it's not, perfect conditions. You have people there from all walks of life, athletes, Mr. Snowden, Titus Howard. There are people there who are doing great, and there are people who are doing great things behind the scenes that we may not know about, but they're making things happen. So I tell anybody in Monroeville, especially any young person that may be watching, there is nothing that you cannot do. Start where you are with what you got, and you can make something happen.
That's right. Now let's dig into the blues. You have a sweet vocal style. I don't know if you guys have had the privilege of listening to Crystal sing her blues, but let me ask you a question. How does church music, because you sing church music as well, how does that intertwine with the blues? What's the difference? Because I know blues tells a story, gospel encourages us in life. How do they intertwine when it comes to your style?
Well, the first thing I tell people is a saying that the late great Carrie Bell, a Chicago bluesman, said. He said, "The devil ain't got no music." The devil ain't got no music. He's an imitator, a hater, but he's not a creator. The devil ain't got no music. All music comes from God. Okay? And I tell people this, as we've, learn better, we live better. Now, I might sing the blues, but I ain't trying to live the blues. All right. So it's just like anything else. It's a spectrum. The blues tells you about the problems that you might be having. And gospel music tells you where to go to fix it.
Because, you get those people that say, well, I can't listen to her because 1 minute she's singing gospel and the next minute she's singing that devil music. You know how they say. I personally think that the blues is more of a, it's a real way. It's real. And it tells the truth. So what do you say to that, to people that criticize?
I say to that, the first thing is that, okay, so they feel that I should be convicted for singing gospel and secular music. I don't feel I should be more convicted about singing gospel and secular music than they should be convicted for gossiping about it. Ooh. However, I do know this, that most of the saints and the ain'ts that ran up in the church for real because they had the blues and they couldn't get the blues off of them. And the only thing that could get the blues off of them was for them to find the redemptive grace and mercy of God. Otherwise, they still be out there not only singing the blues and listening to the blues, they still be out there living the blues.
See, I knew you were going to give that raw answer right there. Now let's go back to when you got started, because this is something I really want you guys to understand who Crystal is. You're 4 years old. Just 4 years old. You already got your whole little act going, banging on the piano, using the hairbrush like that's your microphone. Who encouraged you to do that? Where did all that come from?
I'm going to tell you what happened. Some of us on here may be old enough to remember when they had the big cabinet stereos that you let the lid up on and you put the big record on. Well, my grandfather's mother, Nellie Tucker, had one of those stereos, and she put this record on that afternoon. I was up at the house, here at your grandma's house, and she put a record on, and I heard the most riveting, amazing, captivating voice. I will never forget that. That was the first time that I ever heard Aretha Franklin's voice. And this was around 73, 70s. I was probably about 4, maybe 4 or 5, had to be, because I wasn't in school. And she put the record on and the woman started singing. And I remember getting in front of the stereo and just sitting like, like somebody looking at TV. I couldn't see anything, but I just wanted to be close to hear that sound. And I asked, who is that? And you know how the older people said, not Aretha, they said Aretha Franklin. She said, that's Aretha Franklin. And I wanted to know where she at. Yeah. And she told me, she said she up north, she upstate, she, in Detroit. And she said her dad is a preacher. Her dad is from down here in the South. And I listened at that whole Amazing Grace album. Because in our house growing up, you didn't play secular music.
Right.
She showed me the album cover. And I became fascinated with Aretha Franklin. I had no idea that she sang secular music at the time. And one night she was going to be maybe on the Johnny Carson show or something. And I was allowed to stay up and see her. And I saw Aretha Franklin come out. And she wasn't just singing, she sat down at the piano and started playing. And that changed me forever. I had to have a piano. And I didn't become a virtuoso pianist or a concert pianist. But when I saw Aretha Franklin sit down at that piano, it was amazing. The next people that really got my attention were the Spencer sisters. I don't know if anybody knows this, but the Spencer sisters came out of Franklin. It was Josephine, Aretha, Ira Mae, Catherine, and Fannie. They were in Monroeville. But had the internet been around then, the caravans, Clara Ward singers, none of them had anything on the Spencer sisters. They may have been more notable, they may have been more famous, but they could never outsing them on their best day. And watching them, listening to them, and the Rising Stars, and other people that sang around in Monroeville, Mrs. Bryant from up there at Good Hope, the choir, Thomas May, Jackie Lancaster, Andretta Williams, Nanny Williams, all those people, along with that experience, helped me to understand about the power of music. Because think about it, when you go back to church, the music sometimes could evoke as much of a reaction as the preaching did.
That's right. That is exactly right. I agree. Listen, I am so excited. I want to show this video right now, guys. If you are just tuning in tonight, we are interviewing Crystal Tucker. She is our January hero from DaVille. But I want to take a break just for a second. I want you guys to watch this video. We'll be right back. Tonight's hero from DaVille is a woman whose voice is a living bridge between the sacred and the soulful. Truly special guest who represents the deep, soulful heart of Alabama. January's hero from DaVille, Crystal Tucker. Monroeville was a place of deep contrast and significant change. The reality for African American families, we were at the tail end of the civil rights movement. Crystal is the daughter of Maureen Hanna and the late Alvin Clausell. Now, for a young Red Velvet, that meant an upbringing where gospel music was the foundational soundtrack. By age 4, Crystal was banging on a piano and using a hairbrush as a microphone. Listening to her grandfather preach was her favorite pastime. And to her grandfather, Dr. Sidney C. Tucker, I owe so much of the best of who I am and everything of value that I ever achieved to my grandfather. Crystal began singing with the Rising Stars gospel group, and she played piano for the Spencer sisters. Crystal left MCHS in 1985 and graduated from J.F. Shields in 1987. Her studies helped her become an international vocalist, registered nurse, paralegal, and certified specialist. Crystal landed the role of Maggie in Studs Terkel's musical. Crystal received world-class training from Mildred Allen of the Metropolitan Opera and baritone Andrew Gainey. Her debut CD
TV Womanhood 101.
It's no secret that Crystal has range as a mezzo-soprano, but because of her southern roots, it led her back to the blues.
And if I ever get to rockin', I believe I'll rock so nice. I think they like it. Yeah, we gonna rock this house. We gonna rock it all right. We gonna shake this joint. We gonna rock it all right. And if I ever get to rockin', I believe I'll rock it all right. See that girl with that jumpsuit on? I don't think that she ready to go home. She wanna rock now, honey. Yeah, she wanna rock it all night. And when they ever get to rockin', I believe they'll rock it all night. Now, fellas, let me tell you what I want you to do. I want you to rock them ones on the left.
And she's been rocking all over the country. Known to the world as Red Velvet, she has dedicated her life to being a blues historian.
Crystal was featured in the Smithsonian Magazine for her presentation.
And was the first woman to lead a band in the finals of Memphis Blues Challenge and host a radio show.
Crystal received the Presidential Service Award from the National Bar Association and was featured in the Smithsonian Magazine in an article, Keeping the Blues Alive.
Stay tuned because you'll soon see Crystal featured in her first film role in the soon-to-be-released movie Shoe Fly. Please help me celebrate a daughter of Monroeville and our very own hero from DaVille, the one and only Red Velvet. This has been a presentation of the Ella Johnson Show. Thanks for watching.
Yes. You went way back.
Yes. Listen, like I said, there were some things about you that I didn't know. Crystal, let's break down that video. Now, you got trained by the New York Metropolitan Opera, the Legends. How did that happen?
When I was about 11 years old, my Aunt Callie, who, if anybody remembers her, she was the epitome of style, grace, class. She was just well put together lady. And she wanted to expose us to things that were different. She wanted us to realize that the world was bigger than just where we were. And she exposed us to different things so that we could begin to choose our path in life. And at the age of 11, she took me to see the opera Tosca. And I'd never seen an opera in person before. I would see it like on, Channel 2, you watch it. And I listened to the sounds, and knowing something about singing, I realized the power, the vocal power that you had to have. So I started mimicking what I had heard that night. And at the junior high school, I was in the girls' bathroom or somewhere down there around the science building. And I was in the bathroom because the bathroom got good acoustics. And I was mimicking and making the sounds that I had heard the night, a few nights ago, a week or so. And someone came into the restroom and asked me to step out of the stall. And I just knew I was fixing to go up there to Mr. Tucker's office because this was an adult. They spoke with authority. I didn't know who it was, but the person was Mrs. Sarah Ann Blass. She was the choral teacher. And when I came out of the stall, she said, "You come with me." I just knew I was going up to the office.
You thought you were in trouble. Okay.
Yeah, she took me into the chorus room and she said, "I'm going to play something. And when I play it, I want you to sing, and I want you to sing as long as it's comfortable." And so she kept going up and up and up. And finally she looked and she said, "Who's your vocal coach?" I said, "My what?" She said, your vocal coach. Who works with you to sing?" I said, "My mama." And she said, "Well, you don't take voice lessons?" I didn't know, I'm
Right.
12 years old. 11 years old. I don't know about no voice lessons. I had never heard nobody talking about taking no voice lessons. You just sing. And she wanted to work with me. And she started working with me, for pitch, for range, for breathing, for vocal technique. And I discovered a voice that I didn't know I had.
Wow.
I started developing it, and I started learning about the great Leontine Price, the great Jesse Norman. And then as a teenager, I listened to Kathleen Battle, who is one of the greatest coloratura sopranos in the world. And I realized that the Paul Robesons, the McCorvey gentleman, there is another classically trained singer who is related to the McCorveys up in Tunnel Springs. When I found that voice, I realized that was not something that normally happened that way. Right. That you don't get somebody to give you free voice lessons and free music lessons. And I heard Tosca, and the reason why I was so fascinated with Tosca, because I thought that the lady singing in the stage sang like Miss Helen Hale. I don't know if anybody knows this, but Mrs. Helen Hale had a beautiful classical soprano voice.
Yeah.
And I just know that, like I said, had they had the opportunity, had they had the internet, that Miss Hale could have been on Broadway or in the Met. She was, because when she sang, her face, her movements, everything, she was beautifully ethereal. And I wanted to know how she did it. And when I listened to the lady in the opera, I told my Aunt Kelly, I said, "She kind of sounds like Miss Hale," not realizing as a kid. But there are so many people that helped me get a start. Hearing Miss Hale sing the Negro spirituals, going to the opera with my Aunt Callie, kidding around with Alan Malone, because Alan Malone would hear anything and play anything, and he played in a way that would make you sing. He would make you sing. And then Thomas May he could pull things out of you that
you didn't know existed. That's right.
Right. So between the church,
the truth, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, between the church and all those great musicians, they gave me a good, solid vocal foundation. So
I want you, because you did it for me before the broadcast. Listen, y'all got to hear this, because I doing this show forced me to really understand and learn this woman right here. And she sang for me a little bit before the broadcast. Just give them a little something. This opera singing, just give them a little something.
I don't know about, but I know that one of the things that they'll probably recognize is something maybe from the Messiah, like, "He shall feed his flock like a shepherd, and he shall gather the lambs with his wings."
Wow.
Of course, now I'm sitting down. If you're going to do that right, you got to stand up, plant your feet, and take some big old breaths.
That takes a lot of control. So these people that I read that they really were trying to get you to go that route. They really wanted you to be like the next big thing when it comes to opera singing. What made you not want to do that?
For one, a lot of people want to get to the San Francisco Opera, the Metropolitan Opera, the New York Opera, La Scala in Italy. That is one of those things like being picked in the first round of the NFL draft. A lot of people want to get there, but it's difficult. And while you're getting there, you have to survive and you have to live. And all of us good country folk from Monroeville, people would tell you that singing is good, but you up there, we sent you to school, you better be able to go somewhere and get you a job. And I knew many, many music majors that if they didn't make it to that level, or if they didn't get performance opportunities, or they didn't teach, it could be very competitive, and some people never get there. So I never banked on just the music.
Yeah.
However,
even though
I will not trade anything for that experience. But the other thing, it was a job. That's a job. Andrew Gainey would make you lay on the floor, and he would take his shoe off, put his foot in your stomach, and sit there with his foot in your stomach, and he would tell you whether you were breathing or not by the way he could feel your diaphragm moving. So,
oh wow. And when you have to warm up for a show, do you still practice and use that to warm up your voice?
Right, yeah. Whether it's church, whether before the blues show tomorrow night, you still gonna have to do that. Me, 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 me. La. Yeah, you do.
See how she does that effortlessly? Like, I love it. I didn't know that I liked opera until I heard you do it tonight. I'm going to be honest. I never really thought about that genre of music, but listen,
I don't think we think about it because we see it as being of European origin, and we're not aware that Denise Graves, Kathleen Battle, Jessie Norman, and Leontine Price are the four most powerful sopranos, mezzo-sopranos, dramatic sopranos, and coloratura sopranos in the world. They are world renowned.
Yeah. So let's go to what it was like for you in Monroeville, right? You went to school in Monroeville, but you eventually graduated from J.F. Shields. Now, I think a lot of people thought that you graduated from County High, but you didn't. Now, let's talk about it. What was your experiences like being in Monroeville schools? And why did you go to Shields?
I left J.F. Shields. I left Monroe County High School at the end of my sophomore year.
Mm-hmm.
My address changed because I actually had gotten married very young.
Oh, okay.
And so I went to J.F. Shields because it was closer to where I lived. But I'm very grateful for the time that I had at Monroe County High School because I got a chance to meet a lot of great instructors, because at that time, some of the programs at Monroe County High School were not widely available at smaller schools. So I'm grateful for the time that I was there. I'm grateful for the experiences that I had. And I'm also grateful for going to J.F. Shields because being in a predominantly Black environment, that was the first time that I had been at a predominantly Black school. And trust me, J.F. Shields had programs and traditions that were more culturally specific and intense than at Monroe County High School. So between the curriculum and the program at Monroe County High School and the cultural identity and the community, the rooted community, the school being the community, I think I got a very good balanced, not only just curriculum education, but a good life experience from both of them.
Absolutely. That's good. That's good. Now, you're Clausell. You know, that's good stock right there. Clausell community, Clausell Park, all of that comes from your family. So, I mean, on both sides. On your mom's side, Dr. Sidney, the late Dr. Sidney C. Tucker, your grandfather. I hope that you liked how we put that quote in there, because that came from your page when he passed away. this is something that you dedicated to him. So I know
Absolutely.
that he means a lot to you. So we wanted to make sure to talk about him in there. And then your father, the late Alvin Clausell. Now let's talk a little bit about the Clausells, because we got the Clausell community. I don't think you guys understand how they developed the land back in the 1800s because they were free. Talk to us a little bit about that, because there's a whole bunch of Clausells that are doing things.
Okay, first of all, surprise, because
Yeah.
there are a lot of people who may not know that about me. They always know Crystal Tucker. They did not know that 23 of my chromosomes come from the Clausell family. However, people who knew my father and really knew my biological father know that I got 23 of his chromosomes and a very big portion of his personality.
Yeah. Now, when I did some research, because it takes us back a little bit. Herbert Clausell, Deacon John Clausell, and a lot of these people I remember from Bethel. They were like some of the first people there with Bethel Baptist Church in the community. And then Clausell Park, I learned also that they created that because Blacks couldn't go anywhere else. So we needed a place to kind of woosaw. And that was the origin of Clausell Park. So what did you think about all of that? Because you got some leaders, even in the industry. What's his name? Oh my gosh, let me go look at my notes. I gotta ask you about this one, because this I thought, because he was associated with Vanity Fair, and which one was that? Which one was it? We have Deacon John Clausell. We have Russell Clausell. These are all people that have leadership roles in education and ministry. It was Herbert. He was an industry leader at Vanity Fair, guys. This is your family. So how does that feel, knowing that, and knowing that, this is what we have to follow? I mean, they set the standard for us in Clausell. I mean, that's the Clausell community. I didn't know a lot of this stuff, guys. I've been living in Clausell and going through Clausell to get to Pineview Heights my whole life, but I had no idea why it was called Clausell. So when you found all that out, Crystal, what did that make you feel?
I first started learning all of that when I was old enough to, go and visit my grandmother for extended periods of time. Ernestine Clausell is my paternal grandmother. Mort Clausell was my grandfather. And they had this box in the floor in that house that used to be right next door to Alex Roberts photography shop. It was the Alex Roberts photography shop, and then it was the laundromat. And right across from there was John L's old place.
Yeah.
And they had added a den on, and they had a bookshelf there. And at the end of the bookshelf, there was a trunk, a big box, and it had a lot of pictures in it, old pictures, cutouts. And, kids, I was inquisitive. I was, beginning to learn about my family. I had just started to really get to know my father because he had gone to Tuskegee, gone into the Air Force. And after he got out of the Air Force, he began his career with AT&T and he stayed with AT&T until he retired. But in that box, I found out that the Clausells go all the way back 300 years in the Louisiana soil, because they are direct descendants of Count Bertrand Clausell, who came over from France. As a matter of fact, Mort Clausell's father, if I'm not mistaken, or his grandfather, was actually born in France. So what happened is the Louisiana territory once extended all the way up past Mobile. And if I'm not mistaken, according to Alabama history and family history, Monroe County was once a part of the Louisiana territory before it was separated that way. If I'm not mistaken, Monroe County may actually be older than the actual recognized state of Alabama. But between all of those Clausells, if a lot of people may remember my great-grandmother, Carrie Clausell, she lived to be 105 years old.
Yeah.
And she explained to me that her father was one of, I think, 6 brothers who controlled at that time about 600 acres of land. Clausel, the Clausel community, if you were to go back and find like old fire insurance maps or old maps, the Clausel community actually runs slap up to the courthouse steps.
Really? Now
Really?
that's interesting. That's interesting.
However,
Yeah.
Count Bertrand Clausel and his sons were not Black. So the Clausels are a mixture of French,
Yeah.
Native American, and African people.
You know, I
And
was
a lot
looking
of
at,
people-
yeah.
You were looking at what?
I was looking at some else I was digging because I really wanted, because I mean, there are a lot of people here that are from Monroeville, and they're talking about this man by the name of William Clausel. He died in like 1955, and Stephen Clausel, he died in like 1944. That they lived through the transition from the Civil War era to the modern age in Monroe County. Even
did.
you're connected in the Virginia connection, it says, the Clausels. The Clausels were part of
Usually.
an old family. Yeah.
Yeah. Usually
So-
when you hear the name Clausel, anytime I'm somewhere, whether I've been in Virginia, whether I've been in California, whether I have met people who actually came over from France, if I see Clausell, I get curious as to the origin of that person because that's not a common name. And every time that I meet someone or have met people, whether it was in Alabama or in other states, they all had French or a French heritage. But when you start talking about Stephen Clausel and William Clausel and John Clausel and Arthur Clausel, there are several of those in the same family. There are several John Clausels within that family because those Clausels had a tendency to name their sons after their brothers and name their daughters after their sisters. So there are several Carries, several Saludas, there are several Johns, several Stephens, several authors. And a lot of people in Clausel are under the misconception that they intermarried. That all the Clausels, there were actually 2 sets of Clausels because the man who controlled the land, there were 3 men who were not his biological sons. But he took them in and he gave them land and they took the name of Clausel. So they were not blood Clausels. So they lived as Clausels. They represented themselves as Clausels. So one of the myths that, you know, some of those Clausels married their second or third cousins, not necessarily, because one set of Clausels took the name Clausel and lived under it, and the other set were blood, native, real, what you want to say, blood Clausels.
Right. So I want to show this lady right here, Lucille. Are you familiar with this lady, Chris? I know you are. Mm-hmm. Now, this lady, they say, she was like the lady that delivered the dirty blues. Like her song, her lyrics were explicit. Yeah. But she also was inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame in 2022, I think it was. So how do you relate to her music? And do you think that it's okay to have dirty blues?
The blues is a genre of music that is full of what you call double entendre. They say one thing, but they really mean another. And back during that time, you couldn't say the things on records or on TV or on the radio that we can say now. So they had a way of putting things in context, tongue in cheek, where they would say just enough that you would get the meaning. Bessie Smith, Lucille Williams, Esther Williams, all of them had a way of doing that. However, the thing that was frightening about that to most people is that when you met those blues women of the past, they were not timid. They were more free. They were more independent, and they earned their own money and were able to control their own destiny. That was very frightening to white America, and it was also disturbing to men. So they vilified those women as evil. They vilified those women as being not good women, because if other women saw this, they might believe that even if they didn't become a blues singer, that they could possibly become empowered, self-sufficient, independent, and less likely to be controlled. Those women were ahead of their time because they represented women who had the power to earn their own money, control their own destiny. And that's a big deal, because you got to realize, Ella, it's only been in our lifetime that a woman could get credit, a credit card, buy a car, even get a mortgage in her own name. So those blues women were very upsetting.
And I think that still exists. I think that let's take controversy. You're not afraid of controversy. In fact, you're one of the most controversial people that I know, right? Listen, guys, there are a lot of you that are watching this podcast, and I know you know what I'm talking about. Where does that come from? Because like you're like an old soul, and it's like you've been here before, right? The way you speak and the way you project yourself to people when it comes to real life situations. Now, one of the things that you've been very vocal about is the church. Now, you grew up in the church. Your grandfather was a pastor. You have a whole bunch of pastors in your lineage. Why are you so controversial when it comes to that kind of topic? Like you talk about the pastor and this, and I want everybody to hear why you feel that way and where all that comes from.
The first thing that I want to make crystal clear is the difference between the church that I grew up in, that you grew up in, that those of our generation grew up in, and what we see that it has deteriorated to. Okay? Mm-hmm. The church that I grew up in was the most powerful institution in the Black community. The church that I grew up in, you have to read, the civil rights movement started in the Black church. Amen. The civil rights movement started in the Missionary Baptist Church and was led by a Baptist preacher.
Preach.
Martin Luther King was a Baptist preacher.
Yes.
Abolitionist, emancipation, the right to vote, every great social movement that humanized us, that liberated us, that gave us any upward mobility as a people started in the church.
That's right.
That church is the church that I came out of.
Yeah.
And the reason that I am so vocal, it's not that I'm angry, but what the Black church has deteriorated to breaks my heart to see it become an impotent institution that represents a hands-off, standoffish approach to all of the ills that's ailing our people. When I was a little girl, one of the first hymns that you ever heard raised when those old men would say, "A charge to keep I have, a God to glorify."
God to glorify. That's right.
A never dying soul to save and fitted for the sky.
Fitted for the sky. That's
the
right.
second verse is what makes me the way I am about the Black church today. It says, "To serve this present age, my calling to fulfill, and may it all my powers engage to do my master's will." the Black church right now, far too many of them are not serving this present age. We got the right to vote. We can buy a house anywhere we can afford to pay for it. We can drive any kind of car. We can go to any school that we have the GPA to get in. The barriers of the civil rights movement, those barriers have been broken down to a certain extent. So we're not marching now because we want somewhere to live. We're not marching now because we can't get our kids into the University of Alabama, the University of Mississippi. We're not marching now because we got to drink out the colored water fountain and we got to go back around to the back of the restaurant to get a sandwich.
That's right.
But our children aren't reading at grade level. Our sons are going to the slaughter between drugs and gun violence in the jailhouse. The jailhouse is open 24/7. The dope house open 24/7. The whole house open 24/7. All the demonic stuff on the internet is open 24/7. And the church ain't open but one day, and that's on Sunday.
Ooh. Now, you said a mouthful there. Do you think that would make a difference if the church was open as much as the whole house? Would that make a difference?
I'll put it this way. You live in a community where you have the liquor store, the dope house, the gambling house, the hit house, the club, the juke joint, and the church ain't never open. And then you got to be Mr. and Miss so-and-so or Mr. so-and-so, and you got to have this type of money and this kind of degree and this type of social standing before you can participate fully in the church and be fully welcome. And don't tell me that it ain't no hierarchy in church. I come from Monroeville just like you did.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And, having to be good enough to be in certain organizations, that was a problem. I can remember when girls who got pregnant had to go up before the church and apologize to some of the same people that had abortions, affairs, who had outside children. And some of them girls might have been pregnant by some of the deacons and people in the church. I remember all of that.
I do too.
And
yes.
I'm very disturbed now that too many churches don't stand for nothing. People paying tithes. How you got a whole church full of people paying tithes and taking up all these offerings, and people getting put outdoors. Folks got to be a certain person before they can have a funeral in the church, and you got people that live not 100 yards from the church, ain't got no groceries in their house. You got children hanging out on the corner, and you got all these people in these churches with more degrees than a thermometer, and you can come up with all these curriculums and IEPs for the public school system, but you can't take that same building and some of that same money and develop some after-school programs or some type of programs for the church other than just vacation Bible school and Sunday school.
Tight, but it's right, guys. Listen, Crystal, you and I can talk about that. We have talked about this, and we feel the same because we came from a church like what you just described. It was different, guys, and now it's so commercialized. It's so TV-ish, and I saw this post. I'm going to show this. I know this was done, like in fun. It was a funny thing that you did, but I saw this. I said, I gotta bring this. I gotta bring this one up, Crystal. This was on the heels of Pastor Jamal Bryant and that situation with the dress. And you did this post and said, I'm going to somebody's church Sunday. I'm gonna say it like I know you would have said it. This is what I'm wearing, and we'll be singing. I reached a turning point, originally by Tyrone Davis. Ain't nobody bet not say nothing about it. Now, Crystal, what led you to put this post up there?
At that time, I was addressing the dress.
Right.
Recently, Dr. Jamal Bryant's wife showed up in public, and the photography of the dress made it look as if it was designed to give the appearance of nudity under the dress.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a new thing. I have a gown that is black. It has an overlay, except the knitting on it is very tight. There's nothing about it that gives the resemblance that I'm trying to make you think I'm naked, especially with the patterns of the lace being directed toward my genitalia and my breasts. And you had people on both sides. You had people defending that. That was indefensible. I knew Mrs. Floyd. Okay.
Me too.
I knew Mrs. Maggie Francis Malone. I knew Mrs. Laura Tucker. I knew Mrs. Amanda Brown. And none of those women would have ever shown up nowhere dressed like that. And you wouldn't have even laid them out. You wouldn't even lay them out dead in a dress like that. And those were the first ladies, if you will, that I ever knew in my life. And each one of them was the epitome of an upstanding, gracious woman who had style when they dressed appropriately. Okay? When you decide, or when you are married to a man and they take a calling as a minister, you are in that role as his wife 24/7.
24/7.
You can, and I can call that. You never saw Miss Floyd at the grocery store with no rollers in her hair. You never saw my grandmother you didn't see my grandmother at the red and white of the Piggly Wiggly without her hair fixed or her face powder.
That's right. You're right.
And you never in your life saw Mrs. Maggie Francis Malone nowhere looking crazy. Nowhere. And as a matter of fact, they may not say it now. My grandmother gone on, but I promise you, you can't think of any of those pastors that we came up under whose wives would have come out with that dress on no kind of way.
It's true.
And if that wouldn't have come out, and neither of those men, my grandfather, Reverend Malone, Reverend Brown, Reverend John Floyd, would never have gotten up in the pulpit and defended such foolishness. So when I saw that, the way he defended that foolishness, I knew then we out of control. As my grandmama used to say, we done went too far and stayed too long. Because whatever you are, you that 20. If you are a minister or a minister's wife, baby, you got to wear that jacket 24/7, all day, Christmas, 4th of July, right. Easter. If you go to a fundraiser, if you go to a gala at the Mardi Gras parade, you still who you are. And people can say what they want to say. I got a Bible here in my house, and unless you got a mighty cheap Bible, yours say the same thing mine said. You make a difference between that which is holy and that which is unholy. Now, I might sing the blues. That's my job. When you see me up on that stage saying that's my job, just like you clock in on your job, I go do my job. And when I get through, I clock out.
That's right.
I don't live like I'm singing them songs. There are some songs I'm not going to sing. There are some things I'm not going to do. Now, I might sing the blues, but I feel God. I feel God. Okay? I don't believe in God. I believe God. It's a difference.
Big difference. That's right.
There are just some things. You make a difference between what's holy and unholy. And if you say that you married to a minister and you going around saying you a minister too, that ought not to be. You know what that dress let me know? That Jamal Bryant don't run his house, because Maureen Tucker, Crystal Tucker, nobody that slept under Sidney Tucker's roof would have walked out of that house with that dress on. If you see a woman saying she got a husband and she out with someone to make her look like she naked, she ain't got no husband. That's why I tell people, baby, you can be married and you can have clothes on, but you may not be fully covered. Jamal Bryant, I don't care if he a doctor, I don't care if he a pastor of a big church, he ain't in control of his house. I don't know no black man who controls his house with good sense would have let his wife go out with nothing on like that, represent him, a full-grown woman of a big age, over 40-some years old, and thought that was all right. Now, Cardi B, Lil Kim, Rihanna, Megan Thee Stallion. Okay, I can see them with that on because that's the image that they portray. Years ago, because there's somebody else on here that noticed at the little Blue Holiness Church used to be over there on the side of the bypass where Mark Williams and the Biggs used to go.
I've been there. I went there.
Okay, they had a pastor there named Bishop Robert Mitchell, and this has been 40-some years ago. When he was speaking about the ways of a virtuous woman, he said that certain things you ought not do, certain things you ought not have on. Bishop Robert Mitchell said this in 1985. I'll never forget it. I was sitting there in that little blue church. He said, ladies, if you don't want nobody talking to you crazy, you don't want nobody talking about you, you don't want nobody approaching you no kind of way. He said, when Kentucky Fried Chicken run out of chicken, they gonna close. If they ain't selling chicken, they'll close the business. He said, if you don't want no business, take your sign down. When you got preachers who scared to speak out about that, and you got preachers getting up in the pulpit using God's pulpit to defend such foolishness, the church, it becomes a mockery. And right now, it's sad, but too many churches don't stand for nothing. I mean, it's some foolishness going on right down there in our hometown that just make me shake my head. I ain't said nothing about it. Very few things leave me speechless, but that right there. Only thing I got to say about that, you can do what you want to do at your house, but you better be very careful how you play up in God's house. Because the people that I read about that played up in God's house, some of them fell dead right there in the church. The same God that was back then, he the same God now. Say it. And it's sad because when people see that, you got people out here in the streets, when they see that, how can you convince them that there is refuge and safety in God's house if we doing the same thing up in God's house as the people doing in the street?
Yes. This is a real conversation, Crystal. Now, what about those people that say, but he said that, he bought the dress. Jamal Bryant said, I bought the dress. She my wife. She married to me. She ain't married to y'all. Okay. And then he said, y'all ain't never been nowhere. I didn't like his response and how he responded to this. There should have been another way to handle that, I'm sure. What did you think?
I have met Jamal Bryant in person 2 times.
Yeah.
I've sat down and had a little brief conversation. He might not remember. He was eating a piece of my pound cake.
Yeah.
Okay. So I ain't scared of him now.
I know that.
I ain't scared of him. I respect him, even though he don't respect himself, because this is going to go viral, probably. No self-respecting man. His other wife, he put her in some foolishness in another outfit like that. That might be his MO. See, your MO, your method of operating, you can still be outside the will of God. You can still be wrong. You can be in the pulpit and be wrong. You can have an extensive vocabulary and be wrong. You can have money and be wrong. You can be loud and be wrong. You can go viral and still be wrong. And I am afraid that too much foolishness is going to be justified. Now, she can put on what she wants. She can wear anything she wants. She grown enough to wear anything she wants. She's supposed, and people talk about she's a highly accomplished, highly educated woman. No, she's a highly trained woman, because an educated woman would have known that there's a time and a place for everything. Now, you want to get it behind closed doors and rock that dress with your man? Do you, boo? But out in public, Because that same Bible says that if you cause a person to err, a person to seek in the faith, you cause them to err. You got some preachers on here that ain't saying that. It said you might as well tie a millstone around your neck and jump in the ocean. In other words, like the young folks said, you might well go kill yourself. So you got young girls out here looking to find their way out the street. And you gonna tell me, I agree, she can wear anything she want to wear and do anything she want to do with her life. But when you say you in the ministry, you have surrendered your life to God, and you do not have, you no longer have the autonomy to look like you just slid down one of them poles over there in Magic City.
Now, Crystal, listen, one thing I love about you, your response, you're gonna say exactly what most people think. Everything that you just said, I 1000% agree with it, because when it causes people to stray, people are confused now. They don't know. You got Jamal defending the gay pastors, and you have all this stuff going on. Being a Christian it's like we just making it up as we go now. And you do have pastors that are watching. I know my brother is definitely one of the ones on here. And not too many people are going to speak on that because nobody wants to offend Pastor Brian.
Okay. Whenever somebody start talking to me about, I'm a preacher, I'm a minister, I'm a pastor this, I'm bishop this, and I'm bishop that, and they try to impress you and they try to pull you off with all this crazy doctrine, the first thing I said to them, my granddaddy was a preacher for real. Was he perfect? None of us are.
No, absolutely.
But I can tell you this right here. I played cards, domino, checkers. I even went to the casino and played the slot machine. But I don't play with God. Okay? I do not play with God. God know me. Okay? You do not mock God. When they said, be ye not deceived, God is not mocked. You don't mock God. You don't blaspheme God. And see, you don't have people standing up in the pulpit now telling people how dangerous it is for them to do that.
Yes.
Okay?
Amen.
So now, I sit up and I trolled on Facebook. I read a lot of comments.
Yeah.
And so I put on a dress with no sleeves in it, and then hung up a picture of a negligee. That's them night clothes. That's a negligee. Now, anybody with good sense know I don't have no business walking up in no church with neither one of them on.
That's right.
Now, no, she wasn't at church, but it's a time and a place for everything. And I don't care how much money she raised for the United Negro College Fund. That same Bible y'all got, unless you got a mighty cheap Bible, yours say the same thing as mine. Look up what it means about filth and lucre. I don't care how much money she can raise. I wouldn't care if she bought Fort Knox there. That attire was not appropriate for a grown woman. Now, for a little old girl in her 20s trying to be a rap star, fine. I don't care how much money she raised. DaVille was a rich man. He died and went to hell too because he was unrepentant. But that level of arrogance, that level of stiff-neckedness, that level of pride, baby, that's a dangerous place to be. And all them people sitting up at New Birth up under that is in a very dangerous place. I wouldn't have a pastor, excuse me, and I don't do well with bitch-made men because men don't talk that much. A man wouldn't have had that much to say about that dress. A man wouldn't have had that much to say.
Yeah. I was very surprised at his response. I will say that. Yeah.
A man wouldn't have had that much to say because no self-respecting man who says he was called by God to deliver God's word to people would have let his wife come out the house with that on. Now, that's your baby, that's your wife, that's your boo thing. We all women. If it ever was a woman, I'm one. I know when to wear something like that. I know where to wear it, and I know what it's for. Okay.
Right, right.
That dress is the equivalent of striking a match around a gas can when you behind the privacy of your own four walls in your house. You got a man, you got a husband, you put that on. You start putting stuff like that on now, you ain't got to worry about your Valentine, you know, all that. But that ain't for to be you going out talking about you the first lady of somebody's church.
Right.
And I don't care what she said.
I have a question here. What about the Drewski skit? Have you seen it?
I have not
Your
seen it
thoughts?
in its entirety, but you know the internet is undefeated. So I have to go and watch it. But now here's the thing now. If you open the door, you know how we used to say now you open the door for that. The church is opening the door for skits like that.
Yes. Say
Okay.
it.
If I come over to your house
Yes.
and you play in your house, I think I can play in your house too.
But then they get offended when the backlash happens. Like, okay, you started this, Jamal. You started this, Kirk Franklin, and all of you that are in the media, you started it, and now you've given the world access to do this.
Well, you know, anything goes now. I go to church.
Absolutely.
Sometime.
Yeah.
I go to church sometime. I tell people that I go to church sometime. I participate in the 11 o'clock fashion show. Because you wouldn't go, you would never. I tell people on her best day, Queen Elizabeth might have paid more money for her clothes, but she ain't never been shopping than my grandmama could get going to church. Okay. And I still got some of my grandmother's hats. So I go to church, you know, let people know I ain't scared to go to church. But I don't expect to see the same if I go to church, next time I go to church, I don't expect to see the same thing I'm gonna see when I take the stage tomorrow night at that show.
Exactly.
You know, anything can pop off at a venue, anything pop off at a club, anything can pop off at a coliseum. I don't expect to see bickering and fighting and people dressed like they out on the whole stroll. I don't expect to see that at the church. The church is supposed to be a sacred place, a place of order.
That's right. That's right. You got one pastor here that says, you're right, Chris. Terry.
And the church out of order, folk pushing and shoving and snatching and grabbing and going
Right.
on, you know. You follow what I'm saying?
Now you
I can
mentioned
go to the club and sit up there long enough, somebody might break out, go to fight.
right. Crystal, I
don't go to them kind of clubs no more. I've been in some.
I have been in some, hiding under
Okay.
the tables, you know, something pops off. Yeah, I've been there too.
Right.
I did it. The last show I did, Crystal, was about the church, and I talked about 3 different stories. One was about what's going on in Monroeville. I don't know if that's the story you're referring to. One is about the pastor that got shot by his wife, where allegedly there was some domestic violence going on, and then of course Jamal. So let's talk about our hometown. We grew up. I mean, that was all we did was go to church. Like, we enjoyed going to church. We knew there was a standard, okay? But now what's going on in Monroeville is this lawsuit. They're in the paper. It's showing up on the front page of the Monroe Journal. Now, what do you say about, here we are, the church, and we're going to the world to solve our problems? Talk to me about that.
God is not the author of confusion.
Okay.
And in the scriptures, he tells you that all this malice, strife, and all that, it comes from a certain place, but it don't come from God. Now, ego and flesh, the scriptures said that no flesh can glory in his presence. So when egos and arrogance and flesh rise up, God ain't in there. Okay? God ain't in there. That ain't God. That is not of God. Nobody there can justify it. All of that foolishness is from egos, a certain level of arrogance, a certain level of entitlement, a certain level of pride. but ain't no God and ain't no Holy Ghost in that no kind of way. And you can't say Holy Ghost too loud around Baptist folk because some of them get scared. Because see, I know something about the Holy Ghost. You can't keep calling the Holy Ghost because he'll show up. That might be why they say Holy Ghost. They would like to say Holy Spirit. Because if you call on the Holy Ghost, you call on God and the Holy Ghost for real. The God I serve ain't no punk God.
Right.
He'll show up. He ain't scared to come to Cloudsdale. He ain't scared to go in the project. He ain't scared to show up in the prison, the jailhouse. He'll go. He everywhere.
That's right. That's right.
So, but no flesh can glory in his presence. And all that foolishness that's going on down there at Bethel Church is of the flesh. God ain't none of that. See, I don't know. I the Jesus I deal with is a different Jesus, because the one that made water, the one that turned water into wine.
The wine, yeah.
And I would like to believe it was a Riesling.
Yes, me too.
But that Jesus that turned water into wine.
Yeah.
And you remember when them people was changing money and pushing and shoving and fighting and changing money
angry.
up in the church?
He was knocking over those tables. Yeah.
Okay, Jesus went up in there. The Jesus that I pray to, he went up in there and added out. So I don't know what they got going on down there, but I can tell you this right here: they better get through before God get tired.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, Crystal. When I wanted to break that story here on my show, there was some resistance from people that
I'm
didn't
sure
want to get involved. Ella, I don't want no part of that. I'm like, but why? Why are we afraid to hold the church accountable? Why are we afraid to say, listen, we can do better than this? And when I saw some of the footage, Crystal, because I saw some videos of what was going on in the church, I'll say this. There was something that I heard where a member of the church, who is an officer, said, I'm not going to say it. I can't. I want to so badly, but I can't say it. But they said some curse words about the person that allegedly stole money from the church. And I heard it. And I'm like, how can I now go sit up in church under your leadership and just act like I didn't hear that or act like I didn't see that? How is it that people are able to sit under and still be there? And like, yeah, well, you know, it's okay. Like, I don't get it. Reverend Floyd, I don't see something like that with Reverend Floyd having been there. I just don't see it.
That's a different generation of ministers. Like I said, Pastor John Floyd, Pastor John Malone, those people that we came up under, those people were servant leaders. I'm not saying they were perfect. I'm not saying that they did not have issues where things had to be ironed out, because churches have business meetings, they have board meetings, they have conferences. But this would never have happened under that regime of pastors, because 1,000%. Number one, they would never, you wouldn't, they would have squashed that they would have squashed that back in the office. Yeah. Secondly, you got to understand now, a lot of people holding offices in churches now are not called because of their walk with Christ. They're called because of their resume.
Yeah. Right? Okay.
Now, John Wesley Cloudsdale, down there, Bethel, old man, Mr. Scott Parker, them over there at Morningstar, they didn't have no business degrees. They didn't, Mr. Buddy Lindsay, they didn't have no accounting degrees. They didn't know the tax code or the tax laws, but they built them nice churches over there from nothing.
That's right.
Because when you go back and you hear those church histories, they tell you that those churches started in a brush arbor. They started in somebody's house. And you got these nice, big, nice modern church buildings. But now you got to have more degrees in a thermometer. A lot of people don't know you can have more degrees in a thermometer and still not have no sense.
Still not have no sense.
You still might not have no sense. So tell me now, we stop looking at, does this person have the criteria that the scriptures say? to hold an office of a deacon or so in church? Or are we just looking at them because they work at a certain place and they make a certain income and they can contribute a certain amount of money to the church? Now, is this a church or is this a country club? Because see, when you get a bunch of Negroes that's paying their money into an organization, they think that the amount of money that they pay is the proportion of the say-so they got to say.
That's right.
And I don't care how much money you got. I don't care how much you think you got. I don't care where you work. I don't care if you're a supervisor on your job or a supervisor on your job. Nothing that you have trumps the word, the power, and the authority of God.
Say it.
So at this point, I don't care who know it. My mama lived in Monroeville. I come to Monroeville and sit on the square and give them 2 hours to draw a crowd. Everybody who is doing that down there in that mess at the church that my family came out of, all of them wrong. All of them wrong. It's not one person involved in that mess that should not take a step back and examine themselves.
I like what Kim says here. Kim says, my mom would always say, if you want to find a mess, attend the nearest church. That's
he ain't lying on his mom. He ain't lying on his mom. His mama sure did say that. But one thing about it, you couldn't make Ola Mae Avenue think she was no less than nobody else up in Bethel, because she go up in there just like anybody else. She got just as much right to go in there. Now, one thing that's good that may come out of this, somebody who is watching it may say, now, if those people can do that and still find grace and mercy for God to let them keep breathing his good air, surely God can give me the same amount of mercy, the same amount of grace, and I'm just as welcome up in God's house as they are. That's right. But whatever going on down there, like I said, one thing I do know, whatever it is, good or bad, God gonna eventually get the glory. But to all of them down there, Reverend so-and-so, Deacon so-and-so, Trustee so-and-so, Mr. and Miss so-and-so, you better get through before God get tired. That's all I got to say about that.
That's it. I'm with you on that one. We're going to keep talking about that too, because there's going to be more Ella Johnson shows that come, and we're going to talk about that. Because Crystal, you remember I wanted you on that show, but you were so busy. You weren't able to be there. Terry says God can and he will. Now, Crystal, I have a guest for you. You know the history of my shows. When it comes to Hero from DaVille, I always have a nice surprise for you. Well, this person wants to say hello. Welcome to the Ella Johnson Show, Samantha Malone.
Hey, Crystal, what's going on? Hey, Crystal, I just wanted to come on and say, hey, you have brought, don't start, girl. This takes me way back a long time. Yeah, and Sister Maggie's still wearing the long dresses, trust. I just want to say, you have made our hometown proud. I look at you as somebody that every little Black girl from Monroeville especially needs to see. It's not where you come from, and no, you have not made bad choices, because it made you who you are today. And to let the children of this next generation that need so much guidance from back home, it makes me sad that you can leave, you can stay, but the world is truly your oyster. Like you said, we didn't have all these camps, etc., but there's still a lot of talent in Monroeville, and you are a prime example of that. And just know that we love you, we're proud of you, and you know you're always gonna be my girl. That's soprano in the choir. Love you, girl.
As much as I see my mother on me, I see your mother on you too.
I'm telling you. Oh,
and you
my
know what?
Gosh.
I own it now, but like you said, I'm trying to get more of not just the outside, but the inside of our mothers. So thank you.
And I want to thank you, Samantha, because Samantha agreed to do this, Crystal. I said, you know, I told her that you speak very highly of her, because every time you and I talk, Samantha's name always comes up in high regard. She does. So I thought I couldn't think of a better person to be here to surprise you tonight, Crystal. And someone
Oh,
that holds
Samantha and I
highs.
go back
Yeah.
40
A
or
long
more
time.
years
Yeah.
after the third Sunday in July.
Yep.
I think her dad had a black Buick or black Pontiac,
Bonneville. It was the
and
Bonneville, the Batman.
it would be Samantha, all of them, everybody from John, Andre on down. And we knew we could go over there when Miss Malone popped that trunk and get us a sandwich out the back. Because, you know, kids now, we couldn't say, well, we want to go to McDonald's. But you could always go over there and get you a sandwich out of that trunk. It would be John, Alan, Robert Gregory, Meekle, Jess Henry, Samantha, and Andre. And when I tell you the type of mother, the reason why I speak so highly of her mother, as gracious and as beautiful as she was, Mrs. Maggie Francis Malone was nothing to play with. Nothing to play with. And baby, if I would pay Jamal Bryant to tell Miss Malone what he said in that pulpit, maybe she would have stopped him cold in his tracks.
Yeah.
She would have never raised her voice.
Exactly.
And in a matter of fact way, let him know this ain't that.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I'm glad we're part of that generation.
Me too.
Look here, honey, I tell anybody young listening, I don't care how crazy you think your mom is. I don't care how mean you think your mother is. I don't care how much you wish that the people in the neighborhood and the village would stay out your business. I promise you, when you get to a certain point in life, you're going to thank every one of them, because these people are speaking life to you and they telling you something to keep you out of the jailhouse, out of an early grave, at the dope house, at the mental institution, and living a cat raggedy life.
Yeah.
And even if you do make some mistakes, you're going to be able to hear some of those words and some of those voices that will pull you back from going too far out there and staying too long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kim says, and I know I remember this, we went to Camp Selma University every summer. Yes.
We did.
I remember
and we knew how to act.
Yes, say that. We
knew how to act. Kim knew how to act with his white shirt and his blue pants or his black pants on. And we knew how to act with our little white dresses and our little red ribbons or yellow ribbons or whatever we had.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. And these kids today will never understand this. We would get that little $5 in the envelope. Food. Yeah, exactly. We would get that little $5 in the envelope.
Right.
And we knew this got to last. Right?
Definitely.
Oh my gosh.
But from those experiences,
me,
you, Samantha, Kim, Terry, anybody else on here, just from those experiences, that discipline and that correction, we can go anywhere in the world and hold our own.
That's right.
Okay. If they put 12 forks on the table, 3 plates, a salad plate, we know how to act at the table.
What's your fondest memory of Crystal, Samantha? What's your fondest memory?
I would say a lot of hours was just simply hanging out at church and our church functions. But yes, we saw each other at school, but the church functions and our families, just even when you put the picture up of Reverend Sidney C., when I see him or his wife, all I see is laughter, because they were always laughing. They always had jokes. But again, they didn't play, but it was just, we were always together in church someplace or doing, and we just understood we had to do what we were supposed to, hang out, have fun. And again, back then, church was fun for me. Yeah. And it was fun for most of us.
Yeah.
It was.
That was my outlet, because I didn't get to go a lot of places, but Crystal was always some places. I know you were a PK basically. So we were always together at church functions, if not at school for a while. So just hanging out. Real talk. There's some other conversations we had that I remember in high school that I won't air here, but it just let me know you were you were before your time in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Yeah, you really were.
I told you.
We'll talk about that out there.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
I thank my grandparents for giving me roots.
Yeah.
And I thank my mama for letting me know that it was okay to have wings. And that balance kept me rooted and grounded. But she never made me believe that I couldn't do all the things that I said I could do. And there was I had some very difficult times in my youth.
I know.
But the things that we learned at church gave us something to have a standard. And church was fun, because if you went to church with Samantha and Jess Henry, a lot of people don't know, even though their parents were disciplinarians and held them to a standard of behavior, Alan was funny. Jess Henry, I think Jess Henry could really sing because he could mock anybody, especially those older ladies. Like when we would be singing them hymns, Jess Henry would wait till he would get to this line and go, ooh, like he would always do it. So church was fun because we had fun.
Yeah.
But we learned how to behave, what was expected of us. And to this point, everybody who got on the bus and went to Selma or Atmore or wherever we went to be actress or wherever we went during the Congress, some lifelong bonds were formed there.
Absolutely.
Some lessons were learned there. I mean, and think about it. It had to be fun because y'all know when Alan was playing, when Thomas May was playing, and we had the crowd, we got down. We was bad. We used to walk march in. We was bad.
Emmeline Reese.
That A and B selection. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because and that's where the foundation of everything was. You learn to show up on time, do what you're supposed to do, be in uniform.
That's right.
And again, like you said, the foundation of, I think we were all pretty much raised the same ways. And I can remember like bringing Atmore. I wasn't a member of Bethel, but just, hey, when Mr. Lamar had that church band, it was time to go get something. We were all pile on, and it's like,
that is so true, Samantha.
Right.
that was a good time.
So true. Yes.
Even when DLX was blaring, when you open the church band doors, and it's like, oh yeah, you might want to turn that off.
Right.
Got back. But that was a good time.
It was a good
Safe
time.
Fun.
And the thing that I take away from that, from Pineview to across town to the Ridge, nobody could go anywhere and get too crazy because your mother could correct me.
Yes.
And it was nothing crazy gonna be said about it.
That's right.
And you better hope that if they corrected you, that they did not discuss it further. Okay? But everybody it really was a village then.
Yes.
Everybody
Yep.
respected everybody's elders. Now you don't have that. You say something to some of these people about their children, and they want to cuss you out. That's why I told them on Facebook one day, when you start selling wrapping paper and popcorn and cookie dough, just like when somebody try to tell you, you tell us, them my damn kids. I told them, when you start selling wrapping paper, cookie dough, Girl Scout cookies, t-shirts, them your damn kids. You follow what I'm saying? I had to tell somebody for real. Somebody come selling here. I said, man, I said, when you want just tell us a few weeks ago, don't send them to your kid. Ma'am, I ain't got no children. My son is 36 years old. I was eating a piece of a sandwich. I got me a sandwich. I said, look here, I'm gonna show you something. Why them your damn kid? You see this sandwich I mean? When I get through eating this sandwich, I'm gonna be done fed my whole family. Them just like them was your damn kids 2 weeks ago when they were doing something they had no business. Whatever you selling, school supplies, erasers, pencil, Elmer's glue, a number 2 pencil, and a cornbread tablet. Them your damn kids. See, we couldn't do that.
Right. No, those were definitely the times that we all, I mean, that's why this is so fun, this conversation, because we were definitely those kids. Kim said, do they still have choir anniversaries at these churches back home? When the last time you been to a choir anniversary?
Man, look, I don't care what nobody say. Bring back the choirs in the robes.
I'm telling you.
Marching in.
Marching in. What?
Bring that back. I don't understand this here. I went to a church. I knew something was going wrong years ago when I went to a church. Okay, everybody had on like a pair of black slacks. They had on different color shirt. Everybody got a microphone. They got 5 people up there. Everybody got a microphone. And they singing what I call them the pep rally song. Hallelujah. Love it. So I'm sitting there. I'm just looking. That's what was happening. Ma'am, if you don't have one of them deacons with that bird nest, because he bald head up in here, and he don't get down on the floor and got and you got to have one of them deacons that got on a blue suit with some white socks. If you do not have that, and they pray like they trying to pray heaven down, for real.
Yeah. And
you don't have none of them. See, these kids now, you go to church now, these people got a praise team, children walking all over the church. Miss Old May Adams was usher at Bethel, wasn't she? What, Kim, wasn't your mama usher at Bethel? I think so. Them was the church police.
Yeah.
You wasn't gonna be sitting up there walking, none of that.
Chewing
you
gum,
don't have the choir marching in no more.
Yeah.
You know, when we went to church, all you smelled was peppermint, butterscotch, fried chicken, and perfume. You don't hear none of that. They ain't singing no good song. But them choir anniversaries, everybody come up there, they have an A and B selection.
Yes.
Poor Alan get there. You got 20 choirs, you ain't got but 2 musicians. And Alan played for everybody.
He did, but he knew how to just pick it up. I often wonder, how was he able to do that? Thomas May was the same.
Yeah. God gave them that gift. That's a gift, because I took lessons and I play a little bit, but not like that, because I promise you, when they talking about somebody make an organ talk, Alan Malone and Thomas May could make a organ have an entire conversation.
It's so true.
They'll make you, if you can't sing, do not sing with them playing, because all they gonna remember was that boy show did play. I don't know what she was doing. If Alan and Thomas May was playing for you, baby, you better bring your A game when you open your mouth.
Better, yeah.
But I'm not
with them. Miss Lancaster was good too.
Oh, Lancaster. Absolutely.
Yeah, she was
absolutely. Good too. But now you got 5 people stand up there. All of them got a microphone. Ain't nobody saying nothing.
John Malone Jr. says Dean Brown would say that's out of order. What is it? Order. Do you know who that is? Dean Brown?
Reverend G.H. Reverend George Houston Brown. Right.
Yeah.
And I finally got to Mobile, because remember, every time we would sing good, he would say he was going to load us up on a bus and take us to Mobile.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so good to have these conversations, guys, because, you know, this is who we are. And I just, listen, the reason I started doing these shows is because I think it's so important for us to give you your flowers, Crystal. You have, listen, Crystal and I talk together a lot. You guys see how she has me laughing here? It's the same when we're on the phone. Like, from the time I get on the phone with this woman until we get off 3 hours later.
So look, this is what I tell you. I might well tell you the truth. Yeah. I can't be anybody else but me. I tell people all the time, baby, look here, be who you are, because there's always some folks that know who you ain't. And everybody that's watching here tonight from Monroeville, they know who Crystal is. They also know who you ain't. So, you know, when you go all these places, you know, I tell people all the time, you be you. Nobody else can be you. And you don't have to put no airs on. Because you talk, yeah, I go around here and I sing. We had a gig in Atlanta. They had us up there at the Ritz-Carlton. I looked at that menu. I said, baby, I'm gonna tell y'all something. Ain't no way. I said, well, what time we gonna go eat? I know what time the sound check. Baby, they told me, they said, you can order room service. And I looked at the menu. It started with breakfast. 2 eggs, a fruit bowl of your berries of choice, and an English muffin or a bagel and some yogurt. And that sounded nice, you know. Could you try to expand your palate? You know, we all grew up eating oatmeal, grits, eggs, sausage, salmon patty, all sausage for breakfast. So I'm gonna be a little cosmopolitan. I'm gonna have me some English tea with lemon and honey. I'm gonna get me an English muffin, a fruit cup, and 2 poached eggs. Baby, when that said $35, that's when they found out I was from Monroeville. I said, what? $35. I said, look, I can go to a store and take $35 and feed everybody in the band, everybody on the bus, the sound man, the makeup lady, the hair lady, everybody. Yeah. I said, $35 for 2 eggs, a cup of strawberries and blueberries, a muffin and some tea. In the Ritz-Carlton, I looked in my little duffel carry-on bag, popped the top on them Vienna sausage, drained the juice off of them, took some of them saltine crackers, got one of them waters off that bar.
What?
And one of them ginger ale or whatever that was on that bar. And ma'am, I'm tell you, so when I went to that sound check, I don't know how full nobody else got off of their $35 or $50 snack or whatever, but I was all right. And that girl said, I cannot believe, how did you sit up there and eat them Vienna sausages? I said, with my mouth. With my mouth. I said, baby, I don't care how far I get from home. I'm not giving nobody $35 for 2 eggs and a cup of berries.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So I wasn't above doing that. And I know nobody else didn't eat no pottage meat and sow's meat. They didn't eat none of that growing up, but I did. Liver cheese.
Liver cheese. Now I don't know that. What did that other thing? The hog head cheese.
No, sauce is hog head cheese. Yeah. You got hot and mild. Yeah. And then you got liver cheese, the little brown, yeah. the little brown meat with the little white. Yeah. It wasn't my favorite, but it'll stop you from being hungry if you out in the wilderness somewhere and ain't got nothing there.
Yeah, I wouldn't. So Crystal, let's talk a little bit before we get out of here. I will say this, that I had an artist that was gonna come here tonight, and I just checked my phone and she had an emergency, but she wasn't able to come. I'm so because she was amazing, but she was going to take us home tonight. So I just wanted you to know that there were other people that wanted to be here, but they could not because of prior obligations. But Samantha, thank you. Oh yeah, but I'm just telling you, people love you. People love you, and they wanted to be here. But you got revivals and all kinds of stuff going on tonight. But you got a movie coming up. Talk to us about that. How are you in Shoe Fly? What is that all about? Now we're acting.
Shoe Fly is a original script written by Hummingboy. That was his directing stage, but he's making his directing debut. And Shoe Fly is a story set back between the 1930s and maybe the 1950s in rural Mississippi, in the Mississippi Delta. And the backstory reveals some of the truths about the music industry and some of the truths about how land, copyrights, and trademarks were stolen from farmers and from musicians. And in a conversation, I didn't realize that I was talking to the director of the movie. He created a character, named the character Red Velvet, and asked me, would I help contribute to some of the lines? because Red Velvet is a character in the movie who back in the 30s and 40s did not sign a recording contract. She did not sign her publishing. She did not sign over any of her music, and she actually owned some land. And one of the twists in the movie is that this big plantation that everybody's fighting about, she actually owns it. Nothing flashy. She didn't take a car. She didn't allow them to put her up or build a house, but she chose to be in control of her life, her career, and her destiny among all the male musicians who may have been more famous, but they were broke. So it talks about self-sufficiency, ownership of who you are, ownership of land. And there are a lot of funny, very funny lines in there. Very, very talented cast of actors and actresses who are making their debut. And a lot of gratitude is to a cognac company for providing some of the funding for this to be possible.
Amen.
I don't know where they are in the editing. I don't know what happens in the back room on the cutting floor, but it is in the works. It is wrapped up, and whenever they're ready, they're going to turn it loose.
Unbelievable. Guys, listen, what don't you do? Like, did you guys know that not only is Crystal going to be in a movie, how many of you know that Crystal is also National Bar Association? You're on the bar. How did that happen? Where did that come from? Because everybody think you just sing, but I told you guys there are a lot of layers to this woman. Talk to us about how you got involved in that and your legal consulting.
I am a registered nurse by profession.
Mm-hmm.
And years ago, me being me, thinking about stuff different, I started seeing where all these lawyers were putting up these billboards. If you've been hurt in a wreck, if you've been injured, call us and we can get you the most money. And I started looking at that going, how they going to get somebody some money? You got to prove that the person was hurt.
That's right.
How you going to prove the person is hurt unless you go in the medical record? Okay. And I don't care if you Thurgood Marshall, a lawyer does not know what's in a medical record. And if he reads it, he still don't know what he's looking at. Exactly. And I know that a lot, especially our Black lawyers, I know they all got a frat brother that's a doctor. Well, guess what? Give a doctor 10,000 pages of medical records. He just dictate what he do after he go and say he ain't messing around with a medical record. So I started looking at how I could offer a service to attorneys to help them interpret what was in the medical records to either prove their claim or, if they were an insurance company, to defend the claim. It took years, but I built a clientele, became certified in it, and got kind of good at it, and was allowed to become a member of both the American Bar Association and the National Bar Association. And I'm very proud of the fact that I was chosen to be a part of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Speakers Bureau of the American Bar Association and received the National Presidential Award for Excellence as a nurse consultant, because this is what I tell them. I've had many attorneys say, well, you go to a meeting. What can she tell us? She's just a nurse. Mm. What I do is I don't argue, because, lawyers get paid to argue. I just simply tell them, I can't do anything for you. You're right. You're a brilliant lawyer. You won't realize what I can do for you until you see me sitting on the other side of that table with your opponent. Your opponent is going to have a nurse on their team. You need the prudent nurse on yours. It got to where, by word of mouth, in 2020, right at the cusp of COVID, I got my first big law firm. Mm. I did a case for the Cochran firm. One of the lawyers from the Cochran firm out of Los Angeles sent me a case at 5 o'clock that evening, and they had to file their brief by 5 o'clock the next evening. I read it, went to bed at 8 o'clock, got up about 3:30 or 4 o'clock that morning. And we never even discussed pay because we had mutual friends. I sent them the deliverables. They sent me the check back. The copy of that check is framed and hanging on my office wall. Once I cashed that check and looked at it, I could never go back. I knew then that this is what I need to do, because this is a whole lot different than running up and down a hospital floor, answering some call lights, supervising anybody, being an assistant director, all of that.
Right.
So I kept at it. People laughed. Nobody's going to hire you. And eventually I landed more law firms, got a chance to work with some of the top litigators in America, got a chance to meet Mr. Ben Crump and argue with him a little bit, and eventually started securing corporate clients. So now when I guess I was on the side of the ones that were suing them and they were winning, healthcare corporations now see the value in that. And I am very proud that my mother made me go to school, read, get my lesson. Miss Maggie France Malone taught you how to stand up straight, shake hands, look people in the eye, and how to act right.
That's right.
So that when you walk into these rooms, I am very proud to say that at this point now, I am a legal nurse consultant for one of the largest healthcare companies in America, and that my direct report is the chief legal officer or the general counsel for that company. My mom has a Cash App she on here, so mama is proud too, because now she just tell you, I need this, call Amazon, send it to my house.
I love it.
And so
That
I'm
is
hoping that with
amazing.
those coins, Kim Abner keep on posting his stock tips and we all be all right.
That's right. That's right. Listen, I know that a lot of you didn't realize that. So now you are founding partner of the company, The Prudent Nurse LLC, and that's where a lot of that comes from. Crystal's also expert witness. You know, she goes to court. She's an expert witness. And how do you compare that to, like, you can do so many different things. Like, what is that? What you've always set out to do, or did this develop as you go? Like, oh, I could do that. Let me try it. Oh, I could do that. Or is this something you always wanted to do?
I found out about the legal nurse consulting part when the personal injury industry just took off. When Morris Bart and Morgan and all these billboards started going up. I just had that idea one day.
Yeah.
And it's just like anything. There are people on this broadcast right now. You got an idea in the back of your head.
Run with it.
Do not stop. Do not let anybody tell you that you can't. Do not let anybody tell you that, oh, that's stupid. You can't do that. Fred Smith, the founder of Federal Express, gave me my first corporate grant to do some social services work for the musicians up in Memphis. And I met Fred Smith because I was sitting in a restaurant telling a friend of mine about this idea that I had to do social services, financial literacy, and all of that. And she sat there, she said, that's the stupidest idea I ever heard. Well, by that time, the band was up there. One of the musicians asked me, would I come and sit in with the band? I sang, I sat down. This woman named Lori Tucker, she spells her name just like my grandmother. She said, I couldn't help but overhear what you were saying. Hi, my name's Lori Tucker. Here's my card. Now, when they take your information, that's one thing. But when they give you their information, that's another one. She was one of the vice presidents for Federal Express. She asked me to explain that concept to her. A couple of days later, I got an email telling me to meet her at this address. And when I looked up that address, it was the world headquarters of Federal Express. Fred Smith said that in 1970, he wrote his term paper for his business degree. He made a D on that term paper. And his professor told him that was the stupidest thing that he'd ever heard. That term paper was the business idea and the business model for what would become Federal Express.
Wow.
I stood right there in Federal Express corporate office, and he funded my first corporate big fundraiser, okay, I would never have met Fred Smith and a whole lot of other people had I given up on any idea that I had.
That's right.
So whoever is listening, I don't care if you bake cakes, sell cookies, make meatballs. I don't care if you sell plates. I don't care if you whether you want a food truck or whether you want to be a financier, whatever it is, you can do it. Kim Abney from right there in Monroeville is on his way to becoming a real estate mogul.
That's right.
Right. It all started with an idea. So what
right.
makes me better than any of you? I got the same red mud between my toes that y'all got.
Amen. That's right.
James LaRon Knight is on here. His daddy told me this. He said, don't never let nobody stop you from doing what you want to do that ain't doing at least what you already doing. James LaRon Knight told me that. He said, how they going to tell you what you can't do? They don't do that. How they going to tell you can't make records? They don't sing. They ain't playing no piano. How they going to tell you that you can't be a nurse and do this? They ain't being no. He said, if you going to take some criticism from somebody, take it from somebody that's already doing what you're doing. He said, but ain't nobody in Monroe doing what you're doing. So you need to go somewhere and get around some people. Even if you fail at it, don't never let nobody tell you what you can't do.
That's right. Good advice.
A lot of people, and think about it, look at all the common people, regular working people that planted seeds in y'all. Like I said, the school teachers, the preachers, and all them were great. But it was, I promise you, I will never forget that. Charles Earl Kidd was sitting right down there on Marengo Street. And I was talking about something that I had lost. He said, you ain't lost nothing? Girl, you ain't lost nothing? This just my rover. You know how Charles Earl talk? Girl, you got to leave here and find out what's going on. Because it's good and better all over.
That's right. That's right.
That's why whatever you got, if you lose your job, somebody walk off and leave you, whatever it is, wherever you at now, whatever situation you in now, it's good and better all over the world. And I would look at it. I kept looking for good and better until I started getting to my best. You can do the same thing. If you want something you ain't never had before, you got to do something you ain't never did before. And if you keep doing what you always did, you're going to get what you always got. I'm not necessarily some great hero from Monroeville. I'm just a person from Monroeville that kept trying when I failed, kept trying when I thought that I should stop. I am a person that at one point thought about taking my own life. There is no darker time in your life than when you think that you want to die. But I would tell you that God is a healer. He's a mind regulator. And that same God that turned water to wine, raised Lazarus from the dead, took 5 fishes and some loaves of bread and fed them people, greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world. There is nothing out here to stop you. The only somebody that's standing between you and what you want is you.
It's you.
And the people that you hanging around. Remember, Job's friend and his wife, if he had listened to them, he'd have died right there. He'd have stayed sick and died. Watch who you hang around. Watch who you let get in your ear. There is nothing that you cannot do if you're really serious.
Wow.
Because all of us came out of them same little red brick houses. All of us were sneaking over there to Mr. Charlie Stevens' store getting candy. All of us done either been down there to the Flamingo Terrace, the barn, or somewhere. No different.
That's right.
I'm no different than you.
That's right.
I just refuse to give up.
That's right. Amen.
And if whatever kind of problem you had, I've had it. But the biggest hero in my life was my mama. My mother had me when she had barely turned 18 years old. I watched my mother go from packing a lunch and sewing in that dusty, dark Vanity Fair factory to obtaining 2 master's degrees from 2 universities in 2 different disciplines. And she did it with 4 children, one of them being me. Baby, please. I have no excuse. I can only hope to be the woman that my mother is. I can only hope to be the women that all of our mothers were. We got it easy. We got food processors, microwave, cars, the internet, and all that. Blenders, air fryers. Our mamas had a house full of children, no technology, no help, a full-time job, and all of that. And we made it. And none of us is any better than anybody who was a part of the village that raised us. That's how come people hear me talk about Miss Dahl Williams, Miss Bernice Chambers. Because when Bernice saw you doing something wrong, she wouldn't even be like the court, American court. She'd be like the courts overseas. You start telling her something, Bernice said, shut up, you lying.
Right. Okay.
Right then and there.
Right then and there. Right.
So you still have a few of those people that are there.
Yeah.
Whoever is on this, if it's something you want to know, ask somebody. Ask me. I'm on Facebook. I got a website. Find me. There are people that have made it. And this go for anybody, to any big shot that's listening. If you think you're a big shot, you done made it out, you got it going on, you ought to be able to reach back and help somebody else.
That's right.
I am glad to see all of y'all that's on the camera. I'm glad to see the people that's in the comments, because I'm seeing some names of people that I hadn't seen in years. And I wondered if the Phyllis Rankin on here is my neighbor that used to live in Rockwood.
Oh, wow.
Is that you, Phyllis?
Let's see if she answers.
I don't know what else you got to say, but I'm going to leave y'all with this. With God, all things are possible. If he can take me from Rockwood to Hollywood to making a movie, he can take you from where you are now to wherever you want to be.
Amen. Let's see. Crystal, you have to keep us in the loop about the movie.
I will. I guess I have to broadcast it. I sent a few press releases to the Monroe Journal, but for some reason they don't get published. That is why what you do, Ella, is so necessary. Very, very necessary. Because, that's the Monroe Journal is the Monroe Journal.
And we already know about that. Yeah.
Well, it's an African proverb. As long as the hunter tells the story, it will never favor the lion.
That's right.
So we need journalists like you with shows like this to bring issues, to make us think, to make us talk, to make us get up and do something and change.
Phyllis says yes. So that's the one. She's the one. Isn't that amazing? That is amazing, Crystal. You remember Rockwood? You lived there. That was.
How am I gonna forget Rockwood? I lived there. I used to live there. Let me tell you something. I still got in my Bible a paper food stamp. Now, how long it been since they started making them? Stop making them.
I'm not sure. It's been a long time, I'm sure.
I keep it there so that I can never forget. Because, when you sitting up there on them planes and they giving you a drink because you finna go somewhere and sing for some people that you don't know, that's good. That's great. Yeah. Tomorrow night, if it's gonna be cold, they don't, you got them people, they see that image, they see the furs, they see the jewelry, the makeup. But when I come back and read that Bible, I still got that $1 food stamp. That's to let me know you didn't do this by yourself, Crystal.
Amen. Say that.
You didn't do this by yourself.
Yes.
Everything that I got, God gave it to me.
Yes.
Everything that I am, my family, the community, all the people who helped me, whether I ate a sandwich at your house, got a cup of coffee, you kept me from doing something stupid. I owe a lot to Monroe. Now, Monroe was a trip, but it's the trip that made me.
That's right. Say it.
So I thank all of you, each and every one of you, your families, your mothers. Some of these mothers are here. Hey, Yolanda, I remember Gloria. Yolanda had an uncle named Chico. We used to call him Chico. And Chico would tell you, I'm going to do my thing, baby. You better do your thing. So it's little things like that. You think you got to do big things, but it's a lot of people that I see on here whose families, whose mothers, uncles, fathers, we come from a very nice, great village. It might not be much and grand and big buildings or a whole lot of money. But baby, it's people that have come from big cities. There are people who have walked the halls of Ivy League schools that do not have the ancestors, the cheerleaders, the discipline that we have had.
That's right. That's right, Crystal. Say it. Absolutely.
So what I want, the one thing I'm going to challenge each one of y'all to do.
Okay.
When you go back to Monroeville, if you have access to their phone number, their address, if it was somebody that really, really motivated you to do some things, tell them thank you.
Yes.
To everybody on here, I thank you. I thank your families. I see Marie Williams Biggs, her Aunt Dorothy raised 4 girls. Do y'all remember Dorothy Scott? Dorothy Scott raised them 4 girls over there across from Walmart. It takes some resilience to be able to do that. So between all our cousins, aunts, and all those people, we got everything we need inside of us to be whatever we want to be, to build the lives that we want to build and reach back and help somebody to build their lives. And just as you have had me here, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to represent my hometown. And I am just as proud of my home, my family, and all the people that came there all over the world, that are all over the world doing great things, as you all have shown me that you are proud of me.
We got to look at this one before we get out of here, Crystal. Look at this. Tell us what this is. Y'all see Crystal there in the front? Second from the left, or well, my left. What is this about? What's going on here?
A photograph from a press conference. I was invited to the Capitol by members of the Mississippi Senate and members of the Mississippi House of Representatives to be there for the presentation at that press conference for a bill known as the Name, Image, and Voice Bill. Because just like athletes now have to look at how they can monetize and protect their name, likeness, and image, performers have to do the same thing with their voice. AI now has gotten it where they can take my voice, make a whole record out of it, sell it, and if we don't have these protections, they can sell that record and I never see a dime.
That's right.
Go down like that, but they will be able to do that.
Tanya, I had all of that to talk about tonight, guys, but it would take 3 shows, Crystal, to talk about everything.
I'm just glad.
AI, all of that. We were going to discuss.
Baby, I'm just glad that despite all of the rough bumps I hit when I was young, that my life leveled out and that I'm okay. And I see that's Tanya in Charlie's page. I wish I had a hairdresser that could lay my hair like Tanya Johnson. Is anybody on here that ever saw Tanya Johnson with a hair out of place? Never.
Aww,
Tanya Johnson from Clausell, you ain't never seen Tanya Johnson with her hair not perfect.
Never, right?
Never. If I had a hairdresser that could lay my hair like hers for every show, baby, I would have it going on.
She said, I'm a young lady that looks up to you. I'm very proud of you. Keep up the good work. You know I love you. Oh, I love it.
I'm proud of all of y'all because guess what? We might not all be on TV. We may not all be making movies or records or running a business, but every one of us has survived something. We've all overcome something. And some of us, even if we all at the same place, some of us had to travel 5 miles to get there. Some of us had to travel 100 miles to get there. And whatever we got now, we got more now than we ever had in our lives. So I'm proud of everybody.
Crystal said here tonight on the Ella Johnson show exclusively, she's got your potato salad. And I saw John Richardson wants his too, Crystal.
Yeah, I might
What
need
is
to
it
try
about
to
this
get me a
potato
brand.
What's going on with this potato salad that everybody wants some? What's up with that?
Look, that right there.
Don't answer.
You got to experience it for yourself.
I listen. I would
Okay.
must.
I don't know.
like
Maybe I need to do like Mrs. Fields and start me a potato salad to put in delicatessens and grocery stores.
There's another idea for you. Listen,
Yeah,
Crystal,
Kim to do the market research.
Oh yeah, Kim got you on that. He's definitely got you. Listen, I am so excited about all of you that tuned in tonight. Your comments, the love that you shown, Crystal. I hope that this was. Listen, when you came and sang at my mother's funeral, I said, you know what, God, that meant everything to me, to our family. And I said, I can't really give Crystal money because that ain't gonna do. I said, there's gotta be something, Lord, that you have to put in my hand to be able to bless her. And this was my way of being able to say thank you. Thank you for what you've done for Monroeville. Thank you for what you did for me that day. I will never, never forget it, how you came, because you don't go there much, but you came and you didn't even think about it. You came and you sang so beautifully. I know my mother would have been so proud because she really, really loved you. And for those of you that don't know, my sister is Crystal's cousin. I know. See, y'all didn't know that. That's another show. Yeah, she's watching and she said that she enjoyed. And now, Crystal, I'm going to do something. And let's see here. What does this person say? Preparation met opportunities. You did not just sit around wishing. You prepared. God offered and you were able to embrace. So beautifully said. Thank you. Keep on praying, family Bonner. All right. Enjoy you, ladies. Thank you so much. Crystal, I'm going to ask you.
That's another one of my neighbors that live down there.
Yeah, from really? Yeah. Wow. That is amazing. Crystal, I'm going to ask you to do this. This is putting you on the spot. I had an artist that was going to sing tonight. She was going to do what I'm going to ask you to do. Give us a little something to send us home tonight. Something that you know in your heart that you can sing that would encourage everyone that's watching this broadcast so that we can wrap the show and end with something that God puts on your heart to give us.
They said I wouldn't make it. They said I wouldn't be here today. They said I'd never amount to anything. But I'm glad to say that I'm on my way, and I'm growing more and more each day. There were many who started out with me, but they've all gone astray. But I'm still holding on to his hand.
Choked up. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. That was beautiful. I always love that you sing, Crystal. And I just pray that you know that you are loved, you are appreciated. I look up to you. I love listening to you and your words of wisdom. And I think that people will play this show back and they'll just be so grateful to know that this is what Monroeville created, and that you didn't have a problem coming back to say thanks.
No,
So-
I am hoping to come back in October
Okay.
to do a survivor's ball. Whether you survived breast cancer, whether you survived a heartache, a heartbreak, but mostly for those who have survived breast cancer and for those who have survived domestic violence. October is Domestic Violence Month. October is also Breast Cancer Month. And Monroeville, quiet as is kept, has seen some ugly domestic violence that has taken the lives of people that we knew, people that we loved. And I want to come home and join those who champion those efforts for breast cancer and for domestic violence, to come together to honor the memories of those that we've lost and to give hope to those that are caught up in it. I am a survivor of domestic violence. And I want to be able to work with some people who would be willing to help me bring the band there, do a show, and raise funds for women's organizations, because sometimes the difference between life and death is having a support system and the money to be able to get out.
Amen. I think that is
So-
amazing.
So I am hoping to
coming
see
back to
y'all in
Monroeville, you mean like in a concert to raise money?
Yeah, in a concert.
With the band. I love it.
And the donations will go to organizations who champion the causes of domestic violence, not just women. You got men in that too.
Absolutely.
But I'm sure that there are some, there are a lot of great causes, a lot of great organizations who could use the money. So I want to come back, do that. I want to see all of y'all there.
Amen.
And hopefully we can make this a great event. Hopefully it will be an inaugural event that will happen every year.
Absolutely. Crystal, I know you, and I didn't know you were a domestic violence survivor. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Interesting.
As a matter of fact, just think about this. Just like you didn't know that I am a survivor, somebody that you talk to, pass by, look at every day, you
That's
might
right.
not know that they are going through that right now. Just like you didn't know that about me.
Amazing. That's why I bring a lot of people on my show that are survivors of domestic violence. That's actually become one of my more popular shows here, interviewing people because they just need to get their story out. So I definitely will be excited for that and want to be a part of that in whatever way I can assist. All you got to do is call me. All right.
Thank
All right,
you.
guys. Anything else, Samantha, you would like to say before we get out of here? You were so patient. I just love it.
Yeah.
She was so willing to do
yeah, this has been nice, reminiscing. Always good to see you.
Yeah.
And again, when you come to Monroeville, keep me posted too, because I know that's part of your history. You have a long history, a lot of some other things too. But thank you for doing that, because those quiet voices need to be heard and helped. So thank
Yes,
you.
they do.
Right. Amen. All right.
Good
Crystal,
night,
anything
everybody.
else? All
If
right,
you're
guys.
anywhere near Jackson tomorrow, meet me at 101 Beatty Street at the Beatty Street Blues Club. Red Velvet and the Mighty Mississippi Rhythm and Blues Review will take the stage at 8:30, rock the house, and then come home and get some rest.
That's
Good night.
right. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show. We'll see you next time. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show. We'll see you next time.
We are supporters of the Ella Johnson Show. We live in South Korea. We have been watching Ella Johnson Show for like a year now. And we love her show. Her show is very inspirational, motivational, and educational.
If you would like to be a guest on The Ella Johnson Show, send an email to theellajohnsonshow@gmail.com or send a text message to 407-334-6997.